Yo, guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we have a tier list type of video, but it's really just talking about some of these future potential Hall of Famers. I put together some of the more interesting players in the NBA right now, or who have recently retired, who we could see possibly make the NBA Hall of Fame. The Basketball Hall of Fame. It's interesting to see who I have making it and who I have not making it. I have Basketball Reference up here just to see some of these guys' stats. But yeah, for the younger guys like Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, obviously we have a lot of guys here. I'm going to be projecting what I think they're going to be able to do for the future. But for the older guys like Drew Holiday, maybe even who else do I have on here? Drew Holiday, John Wall, of course, Rudy Gobert. I'm just going to be projecting of what they've shown me right now and I'll add some future into that as well. Then, make sure to like and subscribe. Go into the description to submit your video ideas. And also, make sure to comment some other players you have on the edge of whether or not they're going to make the Hall of Fame. And I'll tell you what my opinion is. You can give me your opinion as well. We can have a little bit of a conversation there, down there in the comments. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. And let's go right into it. Starting off with Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell might be an interesting one. Hasn't really been too close to an NBA Finals, NBA championship in his career. In his couple of years as an NBA player, he's averaged 20, 24, 24, 26.5, 26, 28, and 26. What I've seen right there is that he is an elite scorer. So just for that, I'm going to put him as a future Hall of Famer. Yeah, when you score the ball at the clip he's going to do, and I'm going to assume whether or not he gets traded, he's going to continue scoring at that 24 plus clip. He's going to be a future Hall of Famer. Marcus Aldridge here, though, I'm not going to have as a Hall of Famer looking at his statistics in his career because he is a recent retiree. It's also probably interesting to look at what they've had so far. Donovan Mitchell, five-time All-Star, one-time All-NBA member, won't be an All-NBA member, unfortunately, this year because he did not meet the game requirements. So I think right now he's on track. LaMarcus Aldridge, though, seven-time All-Star, five-time All-NBA. It's going to be hard to keep him out of the Hall of Fame, but honestly hasn't had too much success as an NBA player. No championships. He had a stretch, obviously, we know from, I'm just going to probably use his prime, from 2007, 2008, all the way up to 2020. He averaged 20 points per game, 49 from the field, 31 for three. He was very solid. Obviously, we know that 3-point percentage climbed up as his career continued because he was shooting more of them and making more of them at a higher rate, but I don't think he'll make the Hall of Fame. Just not enough accolades at the end of the day. It's going to be hard to make it at what he's got right now. Not Jamal Murray, excuse me. Devin Booker though might have make the Hall of Fame. Very similar to Donovan Mitchell, except I think his team, whether we'll see how they go for the future, but I think his team has a better shot at hopefully making a finals run. I honestly think that the Suns failed him after that tour during that 2020, what was that, 2022 trade deadline, whatever trade deadline they trade Mikal Bridges. I think they failed them because you had great role players around Devin Booker, like Cam Johnson, like Mikal Bridges. You just decided to trade them away. You decided to get rid of Chris Paul, which I also think was not a great idea. So far in his career, four-time All-Star, one-time All-NBA. He's probably going to be an All-NBA player this year as well. Actually, what is the game requirement again? It's not 75. Is it 60? I can't remember exactly what the game requirement is. I think he did meet it though at 68 games. I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, similar to the deal with Donovan Mitchell. When you score at that high of a clip that Devin Booker's been able to do throughout his career, continue to get All-Star votes, continue to get All-NBA votes, you're going to be able to make the Hall of Fame. Pascal Siakam. Now you might be wondering, why did I add Pascal Siakam to this list? He's kind of an outlier. You know, his career's still going on. He's probably in his prime. Just because if he gets his second NBA Finals this year, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not we have him as a Hall of Famer. You know, a two-time All-Star, two-time All-NBA player. It's definitely not elite, but he has an NBA championship with the Raptors. Throughout his career, 17 points per game. Actually, I might as well just include his prime. In his All Star season, 2019-2020, 23 points per game, and up until today, he's averaging 21 points per game. So during the span, is it not going to show me his points per game? Whatever. During the span, though, has never dropped below 20 points per game. I think if he does get that second finals, it'll be more of a discussion. But Pascal Siakam is realistically not too far off from what we would consider a Hall of Fame career. Next, we have Jalen Brunson. I'm gonna have him as a Hall of Famer. His career did start out a little slower, so that might hinder him a little bit. But with Jalen Brunson probably gonna make multiple All NBA teams in his career now with the New York Knicks, it's gonna be hard to not or to keep him out of the Hall of Fame conversations. Was fifth in MVP voting this year, had an All Star, was fifth in most improved voting, and was fifth in Clutch Player of the Year. He was elite. I think if he continues this, he'll be a Hall of Fame player. And maybe if the Knicks get a championship, we could see him as potentially a lock to the Hall of Fame. At next, we have Trae Young. I think it's a very similar case with Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker as well. If we want to look at Trae Young's statistics real quick, throughout his whole career, he's been an absolute bucket. Right out of the room, he's been a bucket. Um, he started out 19 points, then he went directly to 29 points per game. Somehow was ninth the most improved voting from going from 19 to 29 points per game. Okay, sure. 25 after that, 28, 26, 25. He's been elite his whole career. During what I'd call his prime, he's been averaging 27 points per game. Um, Assists per game is at basically 10. So if he's going to continue scoring at this clip, if he's going to continue passing at that clip as well, he's going to end up with amazing numbers at the end of his career. Maybe could even flirt with top 5 in assists all time. Who knows? We'll see. But Trae Young, I think, is going to be a future Hall of Famer. Elite scorer, elite passer. It's going to be hard to keep him out. Someone who it's not going to be hard to keep out, though, is going to be John Wall. He will not make the Hall of Fame. John Wall's been very interesting in my opinion. Obviously, he had a couple of years of excellence with the Washington Wizards from, I guess we could say 2014 to 2018. 5 years sample size is just not good enough to make it. Also, does not have too many accolades. Five-time All-Star, but only a one-time All-NBA member. That's just not going to do it for me. Only once was he a top 6 guard in the NBA, which kind of says a lot. Next up is Kemba Walker. Very similar to John Wall, just hasn't done enough. John Wall was a five-time All-Star, one-time All-NBA. Kemba Walker, on the other hand, was a four-time All-Star and one-time All-NBA, two-time Sportsman of the Year too. So if you want to say that, that's cool, I guess. But yeah, his stretch of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of excellence as well is just not going to cut it. Yeah, just not enough accolades. He's not probably not going to end up in the NBA ever again. As sad as it is as a UConn fan, that's just going to be the truth. He's not going to make the Basketball Hall of Fame. Someone who is, though, and who's actually going to be my first lock is going to be Rudy Gobert. Yes, the Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert, I have as a lock to the Hall of Fame. Whether or not they go out and win the championship this year, he's a three-time All-Star, a four-time Defensive Player of the Year, four-time All-NBA, has rebound champs, is a seven-time All-Defensive Player. He's just going to end up being one of the best defensive players of all time. There's not many players who have four times Defensive Player of the Year, and Rudy Gobert does have that. He's going to continue being a very solid defensive player. 14 points and 13 rebounds, though, this season also is going to go under the radar, considering we know him as an elite defensive player, though. But Rudy Gobert is going to be a Hall of Fame lock. Four-time Defensive Player of the Year. And he's just going, yeah, I mean, not too much more I can say. Hopefully, you guys can see the vision because I think he's for sure a Hall of Fame lock at this point. Kyle Lowry, though, is he a Hall of Fame lock? He's a lock to get his jersey retired. He's definitely locked to get his jersey retired by the Toronto Raptors, but is he a Hall of Fame lock? That is the question. In his prime, um, that is not what I'm looking for. In his prime, Kyle Lowry averaged, I guess we'll start at his 20, his 28-year-old season where he first averaged 18 points per game down to his 34-year-old season. He averaged 18 points per game. He was actually an all-star in 2018, 2019 at 14 points per game, which is pretty interesting. But Lowry, 18 points per game, 43 from the fields, 38 from three. It's solid. He has an NBA Finals as well. It's very solid. But will he make the Hall of Fame? Kyle Terrell Lowry. Honestly, call this hating, call this whatever you want. I'm not sure if he's gonna make the Hall of Fame. I mean, boy, it's tough. It's definitely tough. He has an NBA Finals. During that season, though, only 14 points per game, not elite. But during the Finals run, he was good. It's definitely tough, though. Honestly, I'm gonna move him back to the bottom of my list. I'm gonna revisit him later because I'm kind of on the edge of whether or not I want to consider him as a Hall of Famer. Next up, we have is, excuse me. Next up, we have is Al Horford. Another one who's going to be very interesting. Is he going to get the NBA Finals this year? I do think he's going to end up getting it with the Boston Celtics. In his career, he's averaged, actually, we'll just go throughout his prime like we've been doing with the other guys. Starting in 2000, actually, I guess we should start in 2010 because he was an All-Star that year. Sure. Went from 2010 down to, um, I guess we'll say 2021. I mean, that's the Thunder. I'm not going to really consider that part of his prime. I don't even know where his prime ended, really. I mean, maybe his prime is still going on right now. We don't really know. Highest points per game he's got was 18. His accolades look like a five-time All-Star, one-time All-NBA. But I think if he does get that finals this year, I mean, it's going to be hard to keep him out. I mean, but it's very similar to what we have Kyle Lowry. So if I have him in, I probably would have Kyle Lowry in as well. Um, I'm I'm definitely on the edge. I'll put him and Kyle Lowry both at the end. I'll decide whether or not I want to keep them in, and maybe I'll even compare them to some of the Hall of Famers we have right now. Blake Griffin, he won't go in the Basketball Hall of Fame, but he will go into the Highlight Hall of Fame. Obviously, we know the high flyer that Blake Griffin was. Never got a championship. Not even sure how many times he was a All NBA player. 5 times All NBA player. I mean, that's an elite resume. 6-time All Star, 5-time All NBA player. During his prime, I'll say up until that first Detroit Pistons before he suffered that injury. He averaged 22 points per game on fine efficiency. It's going to be hard to keep him out of that Hall of Fame. As a rookie, he was 10th in MVP voting. As a rookie, that's crazy. It's going to be hard to keep him out, but unfortunately for Mr. Blake Griffin, I'm not going to have him as a Hall of Famer. Hall of Highlights, though. He's going to be in the Highlight Hall of Fame for sure. Next up is DeMar DeRozan. Now I'm going to put him as a Hall of Fame just because of his career points, and he's going to continue scoring like this as well. DeMar DeRozan is going to be a lot higher on the career all-time points than what you've expected. During his career, he's been very consistent in playing, and I'll say throughout his whole grind, he's been averaging about, starting a little bit, 22 points per game on very solid efficiency. If you want to go to the NBA all-time scorers, though, all-time leading scorers, DeMar DeRozan is sitting at, I'll do a little bit of a player finder here. DeRozan, oh, I don't know why it's not popping up. I guess what am I not on the right page? DeMar DeRozan is sitting at, can I search him up? Okay, well, this is actually a lot different than I thought it was going to be. There's definitely just a website that has the players, right? Let me see. DeMar DeRozan, my friend, is at 36 in the all-time points. Will he ever pass Steph Curry? No, but he's going to pass guys like Charles Barkley. He's most likely going to pass guys like Allen Iverson. Most likely going to pass guys like Ray Allen. He's going to be high enough, and we'll see whether or not he gets a championship. I think he's done enough to make sure he's a Hall of Famer. Being 36 in all-time points and not being in the Hall of Fame would definitely be pretty interesting. And he's also probably going to keep climbing, maybe even to the top 30. We'll see what happens. Him as a Hall of Famer is in a lot for sure. Next up is Jason Tatum. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. You could say he's not a playoff performer. You could say this. You could say that. But at the end of the day, being in how many conference finals appearances does he have already? Um, I think starting from his rookie season to I think he's missed one since his rookie season, which is pretty crazy. He's been in the conference finals basically every single year. Already, his accolades are looking at like a 5-time All Star, a 3-time All NBA player, at only 26 years old. That's definitely going to be enough to get him into the Hall of Fame when it all comes down to it. Remember, I'm projecting them for the future. Right now, Donovan Mitchell would not make the Hall of Fame. Booker would not. Brunson would not. Trae Young would not. Jason Tatum would not. But for the future, I'm projecting that they will be able to make the Hall of Fame. Next up is Derrick Rose. I'm not even gonna have to look at the stats on this one. I just don't think he's gonna be a Hall of Famer. One-time MVP. He had like a good 3 years of being elite in this NBA. He got an MVP, which is great. But after that, it's just really went downhill for him. Had a couple good years at the end with the Knicks and the Timberwolves, but it's kind of not the definitely not the scorer he once was. Obviously not as athletic, and maybe the NBA Hall of Fame will consider him winning as an MVP enough to make it. But because I think if he misses it, it will be the only NBA MVP to ever miss the Hall of Fame. Fortunately, it's looking like that Derrick Rose might be that guy. It's tough, but it's probably going to happen. Next up is Drew Holiday. Give me Drew Holiday into the Hall of Fame. Already has an NBA Finals victory. He won the series. He has an NBA Finals. 2-time All-Star. 6-time All-Defensive Player. one-time NBA champ. Yes, a zero-time All NBA player. But if he gets another finals this year, I think it'll be enough for him to consider to be a lock for the Hall of Fame. Throughout his prime, I'd say he averaged. I mean, I probably start with this year in Philadelphia with his first All Star. Throughout his prime, say he averaged about 18 points per game, 46 from the field, 37 from three. It's very solid. I think he's going to make a Hall of Fame, especially if he gets this NBA Finals victory this year. Next is Marc Gasol. What he done overseas? Could he potentially be a Hall of Famer? Because I know he does have some good accolades on the overseas side of things. But Marc Gasol, in his career, averaged, I guess we'll just go from what his prime would consider to be. Probably considered here up until, try to get this right. From this year all the way down to what we have right here. 15 points per game, probably a little bit more than that because I clicked the wrong year, but 15 points per game. Rebounds per game is at about 48% from the field, 35% from three. It's a very solid career. Has a championship too with the Raptors. But is that going to be enough to make him get into the Hall of Fame? I'm not sure. I'm actually going to put him into the will not be a Hall of Famer instead of no because I'm not exactly familiar with what his overseas stats would say right now. But I think down the line he'll be a Hall of Famer. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Next up is Karl-Anthony Towns. I accidentally backed out of Basketball Reference, but Karl-Anthony Towns in his career has been looking like, obviously like Booker, like Donovan Mitchell, has been able to score right out of the womb. 18 points per game as a rookie up until 21 from this year. 23 points per game, 52 from the field, 39 from three. I think him being such the illustrious three-point shooter he is, being probably the greatest big man three-point shooter of all time. Is this crazy? Is that crazy? I'm not sure. He's still pretty young at what, 27 years old? He's at 28 years old right now, so a little bit older actually. But him being the greatest big man three-point shooter of all time, probably going to get into the higher ranks of NBA all-time three-point makes. I'm actually pretty curious. Um, NBA three-point leaders, where exactly does he stand? I'll probably go to Basketball References. That's what worked last time. But Karl-Anthony Towns, no, 166. It's definitely not high. I guess he has dealt with some injuries. But he can continue moving up here. I'm not saying he can't. Maybe misses it though, because that's actually not as high as I thought it was going to be. I'll consider him to be a Hall of Famer though. Best big man shooter of all time. It's just impressive what he's able to do. Has a 3-point contest victory as well, if you want to consider that. Probably not, but obviously we'll see. Luka Doncic. I mean, I kind of just want to throw him in here. I know he's probably not going to be a Hall of Fame lock, but or right now, obviously he's not. But Luka Doncic in his career, averaging 28 points per game, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Without counting his rookie season, he is averaging um, 30 points per game, 48 from the field, 35 from three. Is it crazy to call him a Hall of Fame lockup already? It probably is. Honestly, without an MVP, it probably is. Has going to be though. Luka Doncic, I'll put him first on this list because I think he will be an easy Hall of Famer. Probably shouldn't even include him on this list. Next up, DeAndre Jordan, just like Blake Griffin, uh, Hall of Highlights, Highlight Hall of Fame, however you want to call it. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer. Don't have to look at those stats. That's just my opinion. Next up, though, we have Jamal Murray. I know some of you guys are not going to like what I'm about to say, but I don't believe Jamal Murray will be an NBA Hall of Famer. Looking at his career stats, averaging 17 points per game, 45 in the field, 38 from three. In his, what I'd consider his prime, he's been averaging 19 points, 46 from the field, 38 from three. Now, what I'm about to say is probably I'm not going to say trigger some people. I don't think Jamal Murray will ever be an NBA All Star. Being a second fiddle to Nikola Jokic, unless Nikola Jokic suffers a big injury, he's not going to have the scoring abilities or the first option scoring abilities that what you might expect him to have. Don't know if he'll ever leave Denver because it's looking like they have a good system going along there. But already being 27 years old, having 0 All-Stars, 0 All-NBA appearances, it's going to be tough. I'm not going to have him as a Hall of Famer. That's just my opinion. But if you want to have him in the Hall of Fame, you can have him, sure. Just not me. Paul Millsap, don't have to look at that. It's not going to happen. Domantas Sabonis, same thing, not going to happen. Only one All-Star at this point. He'll probably make the All-NBA team. Surprised he was not an All-Star this year. but actually not one All-Star, excuse me, three-time All-Star. Zero All-NBA teams though. It's gonna be tough to put him in the Hall of Fame with that. I'm not gonna have him there. Will he ever has as good as a season he's had this year? Maybe, maybe not. John Wall with a neck tat, kind of crazy, but we'll keep going. Not John Wall, Al Horford here at or I guess we're getting to the last two guys where I was kind of on the edge for before. Will Al Horford and Kyle Lowry make the Hall of Fame? I don't think Kyle Lowry will ever get another NBA Finals. So it's either I put Kyle Lowry here and I put Al Horford here, or I put them both up here, or I put them both down here. I don't think actually did I just say the same thing for everything? I'm not sure. But it'll be tough. I mean, if you want to look at their stats one more time, Al Horford does not have an elite accolades. Lowry's a six-time All-Star, one-time All-NBA, one-time champion as well. And Al Horford is a five-time All-Star, one-time All-NBA, and potentially one-time champion. For right now, I'm gonna say no. Kyle Lowry will get his jersey retired. I mean, if we want to look at these guys, who's gonna get their jersey retired by a team? DeRozan will probably get retired by the Raptors. Drew Holiday, probably not. Um, Gobert for sure not. Luka Doncic will end up getting his jersey retired by the Mavericks for sure. Right now, Donovan Mitchell, we'll see. Um, Devin Booker probably will end up getting it. Jalen Brunson probably will end up getting it. I mean, it's only been 2 years, but I'm going to expect him. If Trae Young gets traded this season, maybe, maybe not. Jason Tatum will probably end up getting it. If Karl Anthony Towns stays with the Timberwolves his whole career, we'll probably end up getting it. Siakam, doubt it. Marcus Gasol, maybe with the Grizzlies. I mean, they're about to retire Tony Allen's jersey, so maybe Marcus Gasol's next up. Maybe he already has his jersey retired by the Grizzlies. Maybe I'm not sure of that. Sabonis, no. Aldridge, nah, right? No, he won't do it. John Wall, maybe. I mean, the Wizards do not have that illustrious as a history, so maybe John Wall finds it. Kemba Walker, I mean, maybe I could say the same thing about the Hornets, but probably not. Actually, will Kemba Walker get his jersey retired by the Hornets? Maybe he will. I mean, best Hornet of all time, we could say right now. LaMelo Ball, maybe he takes that position, maybe not. I mean, he's been dealing with injuries. Maybe Kemba Walker is still the greatest Hornet of all time. DeAndre Jordan will not. Blake Griffin, will he get it retired? I think he will. I know him and Steve Ballmer have a little bit of beef, but I think he'll end up getting it retired by the Clippers. Millsap, no. Derrick Rose, I think, yes, it'll get retired by the Bulls. Hometown kid, got the MVP there. It's going to be hard not to give it to him. Horford, no. And like I said before, Kyle Lowry, yes. Thanks for watching this video. I'm feeling very stuck on Al Horford and Kyle Lowry. So tell me what you guys would have him in the description or in the comments below. Honestly, I think I'm going to do one of these. Put Kyle Lowry up here and put Al Horford down there. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Peace.